The meeting for December 2nd, 2021 will come to order. Special intentions. Councilman Brannigan.
I would like for everyone to pray for the McMinn family. Their dad passed away a couple of days ago, and so I was talking to one of the children, and it is a shock to them. So please pray for the McMinn family.
And our council clerk, Ms. Natalie.
Yes, I'd like to first offer some congratulations to the Hastings family. They're welcoming a new baby girl into their family, Dakota Lee Hastings. And I'd like to offer her up in prayer. She's having a few health problems, so if we could all keep her in your prayers.
Thank you. And please keep in your prayers former State Representative Pat Smith and her family. As you may recall, we recently prayed on their behalf for the loss of her husband, Freddie. Now, I ask that you continue praying for the family as well. Now she lost her son, Carly, who has young children at home. In Jesus' name, we do pray. Amen. Anybody else? Councilman Brennan?
A longtime Kenner resident, Mr. Eddie Munster, also passed away unexpectedly recently, so please keep he and his family in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? Today with us, we're blessed. We have Pastor Laura from Christ the King Church. She is here with us today and to help us lead us in prayer. Pastor, if you will, everybody please rise.
Thank you. I thank the council for the opportunity to pray with everyone. As is right for you, let's bow our heads in prayer. Almighty God, we lift before you all who govern the city of Kenner. May those who hold power understand that it is a trust from you and not to be used for personal glory or profit, but for the service of the people. Drive from us cynicism, selfishness, and corruption. Grant in your mercy just and honest government, and give us grace to live together in unity and peace. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for the opportunity, and may your work be blessed, forever lifting us up.
Thank you, Pastor.
Council Chairman, can I also, I'm sorry, can I also add Mr. Jimmy McCarthy, longtime Council Terry McCarthy's brother, passed away this past week.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. At this time, I ask that Blazer lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. We have correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads.
Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Chairman. A few quick things. Next Thursday evening, December the 9th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in these council chambers right here in the Macy's building, we will do a town hall meeting to update our constituents on the numerous things that are going on in the city, new developments that we're having that are coming to Rivertown, obviously. Go a little bit more into detail on that, and also talk about, the aftermath and the recovery from Ida. So it'll be it's only an hour and a half, but it'll still be a lengthy and very informative meeting for the constituents. Obviously, everyone's invited to attend. I'd like to see the council attend, because I'm sure our constituents would be pleased with giving an update. Not everybody comes to the council meetings. Not everybody watches what goes on the council meeting tapes. So at least we could do that and have everyone look very informed by the time they leave. I want to thank, and I know Councilman McKinney and Councilman Carroll wanted to say this at the last meeting, but I want to thank Ronnie and Jenny Maines for the Thanksgiving distribution that they did. The reason we couldn't do it and talk about it is because it was a voucher program. So if you didn't have a voucher, Mr. Maines and Miss Maines didn't want to turn anybody down. So they do it by voucher system. I was there that morning. I had to go to another event. My staff did stay and help. They said that it was very, very well attended. All the vouchers were received that were given out. So that shows that they are doing some good things here in the city of Kenner. And then we also had ours right before that, and it was well attended also here at the Macy's parking lot. So I do want to thank them, and I also want to thank all of my staff that was included in helping have the one here. So there's been a lot of things like that going on throughout the city of Kenner. There will be another one for Christmas coming up, and we'll get that out on Facebook because I don't have the date right in front of me. But one of our ribbon cuttings that we did, Peddler's Shoe Store, will be doing one, and I'll get a date to you all and put it on Facebook and let you know it's a toy giveaway. So different things going on from Thanksgiving through Christmas or right before Christmas, getting those things done. I am going to call up Tiffany with code because we need to talk about the AT&T debacle that's going on in the city of Kenner. And I'm not going to blame AT&T. I will blame the contractor that AT&T hired because it seems that it looks like maybe just District 3, maybe 4 and 5, they've left a lot of unattended holes from their contractor. Absolutely, they were asked to stop working, not get a contractor to come back, but they were asked to stop working because they were hitting parish water lines, and it was a cluster, particularly in my neighborhood, and it's still like that because a lot of holes are still out there, and I know I've seen maybe a few in District 4, I'm not so sure about 5, but Tiffany's going to give us an update so our constituents know. I had gotten a call from Councilman Hayes, I think yesterday morning. I said, we're already on it. This is what we'll be doing. And I want to thank Tiffany and the code department for what they're doing to address that problem.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a fluid situation we have, but those holes have been open for a few weeks since November 5th when they broke the water line and we jeopardized their permit to continue. I did meet with AT&T today, and up to an hour ago, we're having discussions with them after Mr. Hayes, Councilman Hayes, advised me of some other holes, we'll refer to them as. I understood the open holes and potentially dangerous holes from the unattended work were on Connecticut and Colorado, and I met with AT&T this afternoon, and they were agreeable to having those. And the city attorney's office had worked with them yesterday, asking them, giving them basically 48 hours to fill them, but they wanted to be sure they were doing everything everything correct. So we met this afternoon. We talked about them. I understood those holes to only be on Connecticut and Colorado. After meeting with Councilman Hayes this afternoon, he mentioned that they're down 43rd Street, including, I believe, California and Arkansas. But in any event, I got with AT&T again after we met, Councilman, and made sure that all of those holes are going to be filled. The commitment from AT&T at this point, they're being very cooperative, is that beginning tomorrow morning, first thing, they will begin filling them. They expect to get them all done by tomorrow afternoon, but they did say that it could roll into Saturday morning. But I think that's satisfactory given the amount of work to be done. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer about the water break, et cetera, that occurred on November 5th. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tiffany. I do have the date for that Peddler's Toy giveaway, which is very important because it's for the first 200 people, kind of like what we did here with the Thanksgiving basket giveaway, from 10 to 2 on December the 12th. So remember, the first 200 people, so I'm glad that they just gave me that. To close this out, it will be Deborah Foshee to talk about a few things that I know a few of the council people have already done with some tours. I want to tell you all that have done it and the ones that are getting ready to do it again or next time, thank you, because you're seeing what we're going through, and I wanted y'all to see that, and so did the executive staff. I got a lot of good comments that came back from you all through Deborah and through other people that were with you. So again, thank you for taking that tour because you need to see what's out there. You need to see how it's coming along or what's not coming along because of holdups. So Deborah's going to go over that and maybe one or two other things.
Okay, so thank you very much for the council members that came out on the tour where we got to see the Pontchartrain Center and a couple of gymnasiums. We will continue to have these tours until you guys don't want to go. So anyone who didn't get to see everything they wanted to see on that tour, come on back. We're going to keep doing this until everybody has seen everything. There will be another tour Sunday at 3 p.m. leaving from the Emergency Operations Center in Old Kenner. If anybody wants to go, just let me know so we can plan for the size of the crowd. One of the things I think we saw when we looked at these these gymnasiums, every single gymnasium's damaged. Every single park is damaged. Every single tot lot is damaged. And so there's a level of decision-making that the council is going to have, because that's really policy, ultimately, in terms of, what is rebuilt the way it is, what is rebuilt better using an improvement program, what we're going to change the usage of. Nobody wants to talk about the bad C word, which is consolidation, but frankly, we're already doing that. I think it was with I can't remember if it was a basketball or baseball program, Charles can tell you that, but we had like 12 kids sign up citywide. So we created one team and we had them play against Jefferson Parish. So the days where you had intramurals amongst different parks and different locations in Kenner is sadly over. I wish it were not. And so now's the time for us to figure out how we want to rebuild this system. And that's why I think it's very important for us all to get out and look at, particularly, district council members, get out and look at all the gymnasiums in your district. We have to prioritize funding. Also, because some of our gymnasiums are owned by us and some of them are on school board property. So ultimately, we're going to sit down with you guys and present to you the pre-COVID, pre-storm numbers in terms of usages at each location, and then see how you want to go forward and what you want to do, and give you some examples of what's been done in other locations. I think the good news is that we should have the funding to be able to implement whatever plan it is that you choose. And just look forward to the opportunity to have a conversation about that. But right now, where we are really is just in the assessment portion. We have 2 gymnasiums that are still off limits because of asbestos. That is Buddy Lawson and the boxing gym. We also have Mus Bertolino is off limits because of testing on the upstairs track is not complete. We do not have clearance from the industrial hygienist for that. But other than that, pretty much any gymnasium that you want to see, you can get in, and the damage in the fields is pretty obvious. We have risers wrapped around poles and that sort of thing. So some people are asking, because why is it still sitting there, right? Because it looks pretty terrible. And really, it's still sitting there because, like so many other people, we have to wait for insurance. And once we wait for insurance, then we have to wait for FEMA. So as soon as the insurance company tells us that we are clear, and then FEMA, and I think we have some of our Deloitte folks here, I see Fenton back there, and Fenton will give us the all clear when FEMA says we have enough pictures, we've been on site enough, you may go forward. That's when we can actually really start putting some things back together. So Charles has, as you know, put together a very robust program for recreation, considering the limited number of fields and things we have available. I think he said there was 120 some odd kids signed up for kickball. So it's pretty exciting. So what you have in front of you, just for those, I emailed this and I also passed it out on the tour, and I just want to make sure everybody has it, is the Kenner Rec overall, every property. That's every tot lot, that's every gym, that's basically every property that's been assessed. I think we may not have pictures from the inside of the boxing gym because it had already been identified as asbestos before. But a lot of the others, you will have photographs, we will have more, and we will take you anywhere you want to go. You don't have to go on a formal tour. You can call up and say, hey, can I go look at so-and-so gym? And the answer is yes. We will take you there and you can look. All right, so with that being said, the overall expenditure to date in the city for everything, and that's, debris cleanup and mitigation and everything that we're having to do, is $16.7 million. As of yesterday, for the very first time, we actually got money in. We got $10 million from the insurance company. Now, this was unallocated, so the insurance company didn't say this is, $2 million for this and $1 million for that and $7 million for that. They basically said this is an advance on your claim. At this point, our claim is in excess of $31 million. We are working on our second $10 million advance, and then we'll be working on, smaller breakdowns. But of that $10 million, $9.9 million has already been spent on mitigation. So it is really the $10 million. This $10 million is coming to pay off things that we've already spent. But as we move forward, we'll be able to do a little bit better allocation, because we will have the opportunity to allocate. We will not have already spent the money. One of the things I gave to you, just for your information, because we don't have to do it this way, but this is the way the council did it after Katrina. You have two ordinances in front of you. You have the ordinance that was passed June 15, 2006. That's the first post-Katrina budget amendment, where they identify the revenues from FEMA and from insurance and the expenditures to which those revenues were applied. What we would propose to do, and Liz can talk more about this if you would like, is to run this up at the end of February, basically March 1st. I don't think we want to wait till June, because we need to be able to use these numbers in conjunction with next year's budget, largely because it will affect capital, not so much operating. But the reimbursements keep coming in. The insurance will keep coming in. The FEMA will keep coming in, because we'll get down to more, more specific items that we want covered, and there will be disputes on specific items. So the second one you have, and that's on the shorter piece of paper, is the second post-Katrina budget amendment, and that one is July of 2007, so a year later. What I suspect on this one is this is the wrap-up when they're done. Now, I can tell you they are not completely done with FEMA from Katrina, because we still have a couple of open PAs ourselves. What we're hoping to be able to affect, and hope is really the right word, hoping to be able to affect, at least on some of our projects, the 428 program, by which we take an amount, and it's the final amount, and we don't have this 10 years down the road. We're continuing. But basically, that's the wrap-up for today. 16.7 million spent thus far, 10 million received thus far, and we are continuing to provide what we can to get things up and running, still waiting a little bit on insurance, and once insurance is done, we'll be moving to FEMA. So I'll turn it over to Liz in case she wants to correct anything I didn't say right, or give you an update.
No, that's right. And we're having weekly meetings with FEMA, just getting updates with them, making sure we're taking the necessary steps to make sure that everything that we're doing is done right. We have no concerns about losing any funding. So we're moving forward. Obviously, the biggest expense, the first thing we went after, is to get reimbursed for our debris. So we're working towards that. It's in FEMA's hands right now, going through first review. So hopefully by the beginning of the next calendar year, I would have an update on when we expect to see funding from debris from FEMA. So if y'all have any questions.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you. So to clarify, to date, we've not gotten anything from FEMA?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any claims for, specifically for bricks and mortar from our old buildings?
Insurance claims or asking FEMA for public assistance.
I'm talking about like Building A, B, and C at 1801 Williams.
For insurance?
Or, yes.
We have one insurance policy that covers all city buildings. It also provides for lost revenue, relocation expenses, contents, and inventory. Within the property damage, part of property damage is mitigation. So the only funding really at this point, they have not given us any allocation. They've said, look, we know you've got more than $20 million worth of damage, so here's an advance, because we know you're spending money. The $9.9 million of mitigation is actually bricks and mortar expenditure. That is an amount that comes out of your property, that's your property insurance on any individual building. So if you had $2 million worth of property insurance, your mitigation, whatever you spend, is the first part of that policy. So yes and no. Yes, to the extent that we've actually paid 9.9 in mitigation. Yes, we have actually we have expenses that we have reported in connection with bricks and mortar. In terms of money they've given us that they've said, okay, this is to help you rebuild X, no, we do not have that. This is basically an unallocated, we know you have more than $10 million worth of expenses thus far, so here's your first $10 million, just so you guys can repay whatever, pay people. You know, this is just an advance.
And my concern, and I think you know where I'm going to go with this, I'm wondering, are we going to have funds left over so we can rebuild our city hall?
That is the entire reason that we have FEMA after we have paid off whatever expenses that we have going forward. What we're doing at this point is we're making the claim under the insurance for everything that we can make the claim for, right? Again, relocation expenditures, lost revenues, inventory, and bricks and mortar. They will pay us whatever they pay us, and the balance of that to rebuild your city hall is going to come from FEMA.
So that's all ongoing, I presume?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And at this point, we're getting ready to put out the RFQ for the individual design consultants for the 3 different 428 programs we talked about. Again, it's just to come present to you. We can't make that decision. Only you can make that decision. But with this design professional, they can come and do like Mr. Calderera did when he did his presentation, except in a greater detail because they can put dollars with it and say, if you choose to use the 428 program and consolidate all of your city hall operations in this location and you make it like this, it will cost X. You have X in, you have Y in insurance, and you will seek Z from FEMA. If that's what you guys decide that you want, then we go to FEMA and say, will you give us this money? FEMA says yes, we build it. FEMA says no, we come back and say, okay, guys, we got to get rid of the 12-car garage or whatever it is that they don't want, right? But right now, FEMA really favors the 428 because it puts an end to their administrative burden. If we take a 428, if we take the 428, they're done. Our challenge with 428 right now, to be honest with you, is the materials expenses, because right now with the supply chain disruption, we know what a 2x4 costs today. What's it going to cost in 6 months, and is it going to take it 6 months to get here? So there's a need to be able to use professionals to build in the projected contingencies for us to decide. Another option to include with that is the CMAR project, which is what we're doing on the firehouse, where the construction company actually is at risk. They are coming to us under a CMAR project and saying, okay, I will do this project for X. So that's pretty far down the road, but I think that's the best way for us to think about it. We're going to get as much money as we can, go to FEMA and say, here's what we'd like to build. Will you pay us? They say yes. We come back to you, and you guys say, okay, do it, or no. But that's your call. You guys are making that call, not us. We can give you information, we can make suggestions, but at the end of the day, you're the ones who have to tell us whether you want us to go forward or not.
And I guess the reason why I'm asking that is I just want to make sure that we do everything humanly possible to preserve funds for our future city hall.
Yes, sir.
I think that's critical.
Yes, sir. We do need to pay our bills first for the
Yes,
people
ma'am.
but once we've done that, I think then we allocate the capital. And we can stockpile that. There's no need to spend that on anything but storm-related remediation and rebuilding. Good example of a way you would take them from one place to another place. We have a couple of buildings that are not on the City Hall campus, but that you may want to combine those functions, because if what you're doing is trying to create a centralized function, you may combine them. If you do that, you have not only the funds from those locations, but from the other location as well. So getting the whole pot together and say, okay, this is what we have to spend, these are our priorities, and then this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we approach it. So again, our job right now, besides just keeping the lights on and keeping the roofs on, is to get as much data together to you so we can say, hey guys, here are your options. How would you like to proceed?
And it's a complicated process, just by everything you just went through, and we know that, and I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yes, sir, I believe we are.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councilman Brannigan.
The 9.9 million that we spent on mitigation, that's included in the 16.7?
Yes.
Or is that is
Yes,
included?
yes, sir.
Okay.
That's all the questions?
Yes.
All right,
Looks like it is.
Council Chairman, I did forget that EOC Director Doug Doak wanted to address the council.
Sure.
Just wanted to give you an update on the COVID information that we have in light of the recent reports you've seen in the media about Omicron and its emergence. There have been 3 cases in the United States reported so far. So obviously, this being a novel virus, we're still dealing with the variants, and we will see that over the next few months, we'll have to watch this particular variant to see how it develops, to see how transmittable it is, see how serious the symptoms are and those sorts of things, to see whether or not it will impact us. Currently, at the state level, they are monitoring it very closely, My office is taking part in the White House task force meetings, participating in those, as well as obtaining state information and parish-level information, which gives us some data on the census tracts in Kenner as far as the development. Very low development in COVID as a whole right now in the Delta variant. As you recall, back in August, I think our numbers were an average of 500 cases a day at one point. Right now, we're at about 50 cases a day in Jefferson Parish. That's 20 cases over a 7-day average. So we're very low right now. But over the next 3 months, we'll probably need to watch this to make sure that we don't see any type of impacts, particularly on our healthcare system, as we did during the COVID, during the Delta variant surge in the latter part of this year. So we'll be watching that, and we'll be sending our reports. We send the reports to you on a weekly basis on those conditions, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
No questions? None. Thank you, Mr. Dowd. Mayor?
That's it, Council.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, at the request of the administration and the legal department, I would like to entertain a change of order of business right now to take the executive session at the beginning of the meeting. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to change your order of business to take item 18A at the beginning of the meeting. Council members, please vote. Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 18A. At the request of the administration, an executive session regarding the National Prescription Opioid Litigation, MDL number 2804, ND, Ohio, wherein the City of Kenner is a litigating plaintiff. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to adjourn into executive session. Council members, please vote. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. You're now going into executive session.
We're now in special session. Council meeting come back to order.
Yes, sir. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to reconvene from executive session. Council members, please vote. Councilman McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Do we have any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of November 19, 2021. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. Item 3A is application number 2251-21, the Rotary Club of Kenner to hold a public gathering on February 12, 2022, from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. for the purpose of a Lake Town Run fundraiser at Lake Town, Kenner, Louisiana. Item 4 is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 5 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 6 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. And item 7 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage. We have none. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the consent agenda. Council members, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 for the consent agenda. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 8, public hearings and final passage. Item 8A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,877, an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 budget operating and capital budgets to fund 2 part-time Recreation Department employees to assist at Most Bertolino Playground, and amending ordinance number 7549. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request for a 2-meeting deferral. Have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, for a 2-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote for deferral. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 8B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,916, an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration to add Article 7 to the Kenner Code of Ordinances as per the ordinance contained herein. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote. Councilmember Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open, if I may.
At this time, we could, if there anybody in the public, you want to open it up to the public?
Yeah, I do. Anybody in the public would like to speak? Seeing no one. Oh, okay. We do have one person coming up. Name and address, sir.
Greg Taft, 3720 West Loyola Drive. What is 8B? Is that,
8B is dealing with the budget.
okay, that's, so it's not going to be deferred or anything?
It's up on the floor right now.
Okay. All right. And this is the changes that, that was at the meeting of November 4th, right? First reading? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was in the right place. I get confused.
All right.
Well, I do have a couple questions and a couple concerns about it. Because y'all are making change, and some of that, my concerns is that how much additional work are we going to be putting on the administration, especially the finance department, with this change, which is number one, because it sounds like what you're wanting to do is have periods where you can modify the budget as you go, similar to what y'all did when you ratified the last budget. The other thing is, I wanted to know, is the administration okay with this? Meaning the finance department and the administration on the whole. Is this what we really want, this type of ordinance? Now, that's one of my questions. The other thing is, I wanted to find out is, does this allow y'all to do what you did last time, wait till 0 hour, and then decide that you're going to make a change? Because that's what y'all did last time. You waited to 0 hour, wanted to make the change, and then it created all this haboo that we had. Does this fix that, or is this going to make that problem even worse or make it come about again? Where we can have some people that know what's going on and other people that don't know what's going on. The other thing I wanted to find out with this particular ordinance is, will it delay having the budget go into effect if you have this type of ordinance where you can go ahead and change it again? Because the way it's written up, you can go back like you did last time and make a change. Wouldn't that cause it to have to extend out another period of time before it can actually go into effect, which could indeed mean that when the budget is supposed to be in effect, it can't be in effect because you have to delay it. So that is my questions with this, because I'm looking at it as, first of all, you're creating a lot of meetings with both the constituents and yourselves, and I don't understand why, if the city makes a budget, and if I understand this right, when y'all drop the budget, you give the copy of that to the council. Would that be correct? Because if the council gets it in ample time, then why would this be needed? Because you have the time in order to make the changes, or you can contact the finance department and say, well, we don't like this, we don't like that. I guess I'm just, as a citizen, and now I can only speak as a citizen, confused as to why this type of legislation has to be made. And in a business, when you've got so many hands trying to make a budget and get the budget through, then my last comment, if y'all are that adamant about a budget, why don't you all do the budget and leave the administration out of it and just give it to the administration, say, here is our budget that we're going to give you.
Thank you, Mr. Taft.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a motion.
Anyone else? I don't see anybody. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to close your hearing. Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Brannigan,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Wilmot,
Yay.
Carroll,
Yay.
Segur.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing. I now have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember McKinney for approval.
I'm going to go ahead and open.
Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, I've received a request for an amendment. I don't know if you wanted to open first or if you want to introduce the amendment first.
That's good. Let's do the amendment, please.
Okay. The clerk has received a request to amend the legislation in Section 2-94 titled Budget Hearings. You can hand them out, Council Clerk. We will be changing the word shall to may in the last sentence. So if I may, I will read how that section will now read. It will read, pursuant to Section 2.16 of the Charter of the City of Kenner, the council shall schedule mandatory public hearings on the date after the receipt of the proposed operating and capital budgets, but before the date that the proposed budget ordinance is up for final passage. The purpose of said hearings is to allow both the council and those citizens who may wish to be heard to inquire as to the content of the proposed operating and capital budgets. The mayor and his administration may participate in said hearings in order to respond to questions from the council and those citizens who may wish to be heard. In addition to that, the request would be to amend Section 2-95, council amendments to the proposed budgets. We will delete the last sentence, the last portion of the sentence, and we will delete, and chief financial officer shall comply with such direction. So that section C will now read, the council may direct the chief financial officer to adjust any summary schedules that may be affected by any such amendments, period. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the amendment. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Councilman Segur.
Who submitted this?
Councilman McKinney,
And we're just seeing it tonight. Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else?
Seeing no discussion on the amendment, council members, please vote on the amendment. Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Brennan,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Wilmot,
Yay.
Carroll,
Yay.
Segur,
Yay.
Hayes.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to amend. Back to your original motion as amended.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
At this time, I'd like to open on the legislation itself. This legislation gives us clear guidelines regarding our budgetary processes. Last year, there appeared to be some confusion over the process, and this legislation has been filed in an attempt to cure some of those deficiencies. So I'm going to go into the piece of legislation itself and just give some overall ideas of what it does, just general. First off, the submission of the proposed budget, of course, it's due May 1st. Next, in subpart B, no changes except it'll be by amendment unless there's an amendment. C, notice of published cation, and that it'll be in an official journal, Facebook, website, available for review in the mayor's office and financial department. All those requirements, we contend, or I contend, that there's heightened public awareness, specifically when you're dealing with our budget. It's one of the most important pieces of legislation that we have for the city. We're dealing with our tax dollars, right? So we want to make sure that the public is aware and that the information gets out there. Then section 2.94, the budget hearings. Dealing with that, it lays out a process. Clear and simple. It just needs, it just gives us a process to follow for the hearings. And again, on the amendment, it was changed from shall to may to make it more, I guess, appealable to the administration. Section 2.95 deals with the amendment process. Again, I think it's more good government transparency that we have the amendments, they come forth, and we actually vote on them openly and as the budgetary process takes place. The next is reconsideration, 2.96. Again, that is an issue that we had, and we need to have that written out, spelled out, so it can be followed. Section 2.97, particular ordinance. This clarifies if there's a salary that is increased or decreased or other compensation for either elected officials or appointed city employees in a supervisory position. If they are in that capacity, then they must do so by particular ordinance. Again, that provides transparency. It gives a heightened awareness to the public, and it's played out. It's just not simply in the budget. So that's what the actual legislation does. I think it's important, all those aspects, that we have some process in place so we can carry out our budgetary matters. Any questions or comments? Anybody would like to make any comments on this legislation?
Yeah.
Councilman Segura, you have the floor.
I'd like to ask our city attorney to discuss this memorandum letter that we received from Mr. Dave Sherman on the various sections that you just read and how they also have opposition to our charter. And how can we approve something that has contrary to our charter?
Councilman, I'm going to turn it over to one of them, especially one of them with Ms. Adrian from Sahari. They actually drafted that memo on my request. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, so we've reviewed.
Is your mic on?
Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, thank you. Yes, so, yes, Councilman, so you're at the request. We have reviewed this ordinance, and we believe that it's inconsistent with your charter. And I could go through the various reasons why. So if you have a copy of the ordinance in front of you, I'm just going to walk through it and walk through the flaws that we see and how it was drafted and how it's inconsistent with the charter. So I'll start with the beginning. The first issue, we found an issue in section 2.93, which is submission of the proposed budget. Any amendment to a proposed budget that substantially changes the proposed budget is subject to the same procedural requirements as the budget. That requires a 7-day layover. That's not mentioned in this ordinance, this proposed ordinance. That would be section 2.93B. So you're required to have the 7-day layover, as well as public notice, inspection, and the hearing requirements for the proposed budget. So we see an issue with that conflicts with your charter in 2.93. Going on to section 2.94, budget hearings. This proposed ordinance is unclear whether there should be 1 or 2 hearings will be required. Both the Charter and the Budget Act require one, but it's vague and unclear as drafted whether it would require one or two. We just spoke about, or you just introduced an amendment to this ordinance that was addressing the next points that we had, requiring the mayor to do some acts. So I'm going to go ahead and not address that because you changed the language from shall to may. So I won't address that one. And then but in that similar section, that's section 2.95, substantive amendments to the proposed budget are subject again to layover, public notice, inspection, and hearing requirements. Just want to note that to clarify that in section 2.95. Going on to 2.96, your proposed language in the ordinance. An ordinance may not be repealed or rescinded via another ordinance, and that's section 2.12 of your charter. Any provision keeping a budget ordinance open through the time periods for the mayor's signature or veto and public notice is inconsistent with your charter. That does this, so that's inconsistent with your charter as well. Also, there's other inconsistencies with your charter process as well. It goes into the timeline based on when the budget must be adopted and delays. Allowing the council to reconsider and reopen debate on an adopted budget as if no vote had occurred is also inconsistent with your charter. We're still in section 2.96. Nothing does prevent the council from reconsidering ordinances, but the reconsideration itself has no effect on the adopted budget. So there's inconsistencies again in 2.96 as proposed in this ordinance with your charter. And then to sum it up, or to finish up, section 2.97 under particular ordinances, the charter provides a process for which changes to compensation must be handled. The council may not limit the mayor's authority to do so by an ordinance. An example of that, classified employees such as the civil service director, they're in a supervisory role. The charter has a specific process for setting this compensation and requires the mayor to submit the pay plan for those classified employees. So that's a summary. I believe you all have a copy of the issues we see with this ordinance as drafted.
Okay. As memory, I recall, we approved our budget. I forgot the date. Was it May? Anybody recall what it was that we last approved? I'm sorry? June 3rd. Okay. And then immediately afterwards, I know as a councilman, I received notice of a special council meeting request, which was discussed slightly at that June 3rd meeting for the insertion of 2 amendments to the budget, but then changed to this reconsideration of the budget. And I recall at that meeting then, special meeting, a very lengthy oration of discussion from a lot of experts, your law firm, a lady that was assisting our finance director with the auditing of our finance department. And it all had to do with this, you really cannot and should not bring up for reconsideration a budget that you've just approved and then now say that that vote didn't count, we're going to take a new vote, and then we're going to amend it right here on the spot, and then not have any public, and there was a big, I know our clerks were at a disadvantage because they had amendments that had never been published, put out for public publication. The audience was like asking for copies of it. We on the council were, well, at least the ones who had not seen it were asking for copies of the amendment. Apparently other council members had gotten copies of it. That's no be there, but so here we are going into a process that then led to, as I understand, the legislative auditor summoning 1, 2, 3 council members to their office and to have a discussion on this reconsideration and how, should I use the term not legal? Okay, that it was not legal. So at that discussion, the attorney for the legislative auditor presumably offered a solution to resolve it, which was brought back at another council meeting later, as they want to say was a let's just fix it by reaffirming it, I think is what the title was. Ratifying, I'm sorry. Where in reality, it was just starting the whole approval process of a budget where it was publicly posted, sat its set number of days, had public hearings, and then voted on. But was in violation of the charter, because our charter also says we must approve a budget in June. I'm sorry?
Correct. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
And on June 14th, not by June 14th.
June 14th, that's correct. So here we were, a month or more later, now bringing this budget back up for discussion and vote, which was now in opposition to our charter to approve what was not done properly in June originally, as the legislative auditor recommended was a way to fix that, because, yeah, I'm sure they just said, look, you can fix it, just go do it. But not knowing our charter created that violation. Well, okay, we violated our charter by re-voting on that budget, but for the sake of trying to put it at rest and get it out there that we have a budget, it was ratified and put back out. Now we're being asked to do the same thing, is put ourselves in the same position of being illegally approving a budget if an amendment is made at a re-ratification meeting. Is that not correct?
No, that's correct. If you were to adopt this ordinance as written and has been amended tonight, it would violate your charter.
And any law?
Yeah, I mean, it's in your charter, and it's also piggybacks in the Government Budget Act. I could cite the citations if you'd like on how each one I read through would violate your charter. It's also in the memo, but the
Well,
actions.
the public that's listening doesn't have the memo,
Okay.
only us, so I
Sure.
do appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I could walk through it again if you'd like, the points that I made, and then the sections in the charter that it corresponds to, if you'd
Well,
like.
I want to make that clear, because
Sure.
I don't want to get in a position of violating my charter or a law again.
Sure, and as written tonight, and if adopted tonight, as written, this ordinance would violate the charter.
What about the law?
So,
Since the councilman asked that, just to
yes.
clarify, please.
So I spoke with the attorney for the legislative auditor yesterday, and because this is a home rule charter city, when there's a conflict between the law, the Local Government Budget Act, and the charter prevails. And so when you're in conflict with your charter, if your charter is the governing document, then that's what matters, that's what we look to. So
So,
you
Councilman
would
Trujillo,
not-
I don't mean to jump in on you.
No,
Well-
it's okay.
So, the governing law, to your point, Councilman Brennan, is the charter.
Is the charter.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Now, and that's a good point. Thank you for asking that, because that's what I was trying to get to, law, charter. So
And
we
most-
may not be violating the law if we went through that process
Because
again.
the law looks to
We
your
would
charter.
just be violating the charter.
because the law
But
looks
wait,
to
but
your
which
charter.
is the law that we, as a council, have to operate under?
Correct,
So in effect, it is our law.
Correct.
correct.
Yes.
And so with that, if we now go forth with this legislation, it looks very ridiculous to say, I'm going to vote in favor of saying I'm going to violate my charter if we do this again.
That's up to you.
That's just not heard of in government, to say, I'm going to vote to allow myself to violate my charter.
That's up to you.
No, I agree. Not up to, I know where I'm at with it. All right. Charters are put in place. Can an ordinance override what's in a charter?
No, sir.
It has to go before the people and a charter change provision and then voted on by the people, correct?
Correct, sir.
Is there anything in this legislation to put such a change before the public to change our charter?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'm just making sure that I'm reading what I read, that there is nothing, there is no perceived charter amendment that's been put up for us to vote on that would then go to the public to approve these elements to take place because it would then be the charter law. So right now, as I said, we're voting to approve an ordinance that would tell us, yeah, you can violate your charter. No. Budgets are put together by an administration in a process of their work and then presented to the council. This charter went in effect, I believe it was 1974. Here we are in 2021. And to believe that this is the first time we've seen such an attack on our charter provisions to say things were done wrong and we should do this change to correct it is just bizarre. I'm just very concerned that this was even put up tonight to put forth this belief that our charter for this many years was wrong and we should change it this way instead of the proper way that's in the charter, to change the charter. Question. We've heard the terms quorums, walking quorums. I noticed this legislation is submitted by 4 council members, which means there had to be some discussion between them to put this together. I'm not asking, I've already heard that opinion. That constitutes a walking quorum. I have a problem with this. It's clearly a walking quorum that put this legislation together. I don't want to see the Attorney General coming back and questioning that this council conducted a walking quorum to put something together. So again, I see that as a definite problem with this legislation. Mr. Wilmot, it says here submitted by you, Councilwoman McKinney, Councilman Carroll, and Councilman Brannigan. How much discussion did y'all have before this putting up on this matter?
You go finish your.
No, I asked a
discussion.
question.
I don't have the answer to your question.
Well, then
and
just
I'm not
say that.
going
I'm
to.
not going to answer the question.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Finish
asked a question.
Finish your debate, sir.
I asked a question.
And I understand that.
So
And
you-
I will address it in the future.
I take it that he don't want to answer that because then he would be admitting to having a walking quorum. No other, I know myself, and I'll let any other name that's not on this submitted by or talked to about this. So I feel very safe in saying I was not part of a walking quorum. So I want that to be clear that I was not part of this. I'm not going to be part of approving an ordinance that's going to tell me, okay, to violate my charter. That is not what I was elected to do, and continue to support my charter as I will do so as long as I'm in this office, and defend it and make sure that nobody else should violate the charter. So with that, I think you've covered enough to say that this is very, very bad legislation. It's just ironic that 4 members would band together to put up such a legislation to say, we want to violate our charter by an ordinance that can't do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
That's it. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Councilman Hayes?
We mentioned the previous meetings, and I'm the other council person that was not privy to any information on amendments that were offered before. So Councilman Segura and myself are the ones that were never talked about. Obviously, the 4 names here have been mentioned. I was going to mention them, Councilman Segura, if you didn't mention them. This speaks volumes to what Greg Teff was just talking to. Mr. Teff mentioned some things that I think we really should address better. But the public notification from ground one is not here. And that's what we really all should be about, letting the public thoroughly understand what is happening at a reasonable time so they can come back to us with any kind of comments, concerns, and questions. And that was our problem before. It's still the problem today. So this will probably pass today because you got 4 people a quorum, a majority that is for this. But this is not good government. And I challenge any of the 4 people who signed this to tell me why this is good government right now, tonight, in front of a public meeting as we are doing. So that's all I have to say. This is not good.
Anyone else? Councilwoman?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Council President. So a lot of stuff has been said here. I just want to clarify with the city attorney, do you agree with this legal opinion that was written? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, and just, you know, don't want to rehash old things, but as we have in the past, legal opinions for the city attorney that agree with the city attorney don't necessarily, don't always have to be, aren't always listened to, and outside counsel is pulled in to dispute. So, thank you for your opinion. When you were looking at this, did you do any independent research to support this memorandum? Did you get any outside opinions, legal opinions, previous opinions for previous attorneys?
No.
Okay.
Once I asked them to research it, I didn't know what they would find, but I just wanted to make sure since this firm dealt with the budget, I did not, because I was not the city attorney at that time. Could you put your mic on? I was not the city attorney at that time, but also at that time, the former city attorney had conflicted out my office, so I could not do anything regarding the budget. But that's why I deferred to them to research it to make sure this was sound law and it didn't violate anything. Once I got their memo, I read it, it was legally sound in my opinion, yes.
Okay.
But I did not seek any outside counsel outside of them.
Okay, I was talking about previous legal opinions by previous attorneys, for the city attorneys that have been, because they've had other budget issues in the past, so you've not researched any and found
No.
any.
And
They've
I
had
did get
budget.
the request this
Yes.
afternoon, but it was
Yeah.
too late. I mean, not for this purpose.
Yes.
But no.
Okay, and because they have, in the past, they have had budget amendments, and I've spoken to previous people who've worked for the city, CAOs, previous city attorneys, members of the council. They have had amendments to the budget on the day of the budget hearing, which in the past, over the past, 30 years. So this is actually just aligning with previous precedent and previous procedures. So this is actually good government in accordance with this memo, given the budget process that we only get the budget on May 1st, and we have to approve it by June 15th, and then accordance to the 7-day requirements layover, it would be physically impossible for us, for the council, which is provided legislative oversight of the budget, to actually change, to make those budget changes, have multiple hearings, because if we can only have one hearing by law, which there, is sort of conflicting it out, that if we can't require that we have multiple hearings, which, with respect to Mr. Teffey saying, we have, we only have, first you said that, you want to make sure that we have enough time, and then you said we have too many meetings. So I kind of feel like it's important for us to maximize the opportunities that city have input and council input, right? So we want to have multiple meetings. We want to get a lot of input from the city. We want to do, I know all of us, all 7 of us want to get citizen input. By the charter, we're required to have, legislative oversight of the budget. We're also set the legislative policy for the city. One of the most important things to set the legislative policy of the city is to make changes and update the budget. So if this procedure, which has been done in past, by past councils, if this violates the charter, then it's essentially saying that we have no way to adopt and change the budget. which I think is fundamentally wrong, and I think it's fundamentally inaccurate. And also, I know Mr. Teff also said that the charter, if we want to do the budget, why don't we create it? The charter requires the mayor to present the budget. So we have input on the budget. We don't, it's the mayor's budget. We make changes, and we have the ability to make changes if we, after May 1st, which is when we receive the budget. We don't have input before. We don't have, that's the administration's job, is to pull that budget together. The period that we have input in is, all we're doing in this legislation is creating budget hearings, the ability, we're mandating that we want to have a budget hearing because it's not anywhere in the process that it's required to have budget hearings. So, we have one budget hearing, obviously the public meeting where we vote on. So we want to make sure that we have a public hearing with citizen input. In the past, it's been talked about, oh, well, we don't really need that. In years past, way before I was on the council, they've had 3-day meetings. So I think it's really important to maximize the opportunities for you to go. I know that you were at the June 14th meeting. I know that, Mr. Teff, you were at all the meetings, but I didn't see you at the budget hearing. So, and also, I think it's really important that, this year, the budget wasn't put on, online, until the beginning of 2 days before the meeting. So, digesting 500 pages of data and budget, unless you're a budget whiz, you're not gonna be able to do that. So really, in this budget process, we're making it more transparent, more good government. This is our goal, and the only person that I spoke to about this legislation, to clarify, was Mr. Wilmot. I didn't speak to Councilman Brannigan, I didn't speak to Councilman Brennan, I didn't speak to Councilman Hayes, I didn't speak to Councilman Segura or Councilman Carroll. I didn't speak to anybody about this. I spoke to one person. When I saw this legislation, actually, in full, was when I saw it on the agenda, because that's when we're supposed to read, all of this information. That's when we're supposed to digest it, take that time, and really go over it. So, and also, there have been many pieces of legislation that the mayor and all 7 council members have been on. So it's disingenuous to say that there's a walking quorum when there's been multiple items that we have been, that has been on the agenda, and we've all been on it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we've all digested it and created it and did something that would be inappropriate. I can't speak for anybody else, but I don't even know, maybe some of these people weren't on it originally. They saw it and they added their name to it. I don't really know. But I think that, this is good government legislation. This is making sure that we, as the council, are protected and protecting our legislative duty. And I think, obviously I'm in support of it. I did some amendments. I think, some of those concerns were valid. And as I said, I spoke with several other people that have been involved in Kenner city government for years, that, not just the past 6 months, that have said that this is the process that has always been followed. This is literally not anything different from what we've done 20 years ago. So I'm of the opinion that it's sad that we have to do this, but if it isn't broke, we don't need to fix anything. Why don't we just stick with the process that we have and move forward with what we're going to do? So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brannigan?
Yeah, I feel that this is good government legislation because it gives a process to the budget process. And after what we went through in the last budget, I think that what we're doing here is fixing problems that we had. The being summoned to the legislative auditor's office is incorrect. We went to the legislative auditor's office, and I was a person that was there, a councilman that was there, to get their thought process on how to address the budget situation that we were in. And the legislative auditor told us, their attorneys told us that ratification was the way to do it this year. I really believe that this is not going to add work, as you said, because it is a lot of the same processes that are in the charter. And I believe that by adopting this legislation, it will make sure that the process is taken care of the right way that it's supposed to be done. Now, I've also talked to several people that were in government, and they have said in the last 30 years, they have made amendments from at that meeting to the budget. And amendments were written on napkins and pieces of paper, and they were given to the administration. And the finance director at that time went in and made the adjustments to make the schedules right before the 15th of June. And I believe that that's the process that we should stick with. We don't want to go through what we went through last year again.
Councilman Brennan?
I have one question. Councilwoman McKinney, the question you asked Ms. Sala at the beginning of your discussion, I couldn't hear the whole question. What did you ask the attorney, please?
I asked if she agreed with this legal opinion and if she did any independent research.
I heard that
Yeah,
part,
okay.
but as far as the agreement with this, or with this opinion, the answer was yes,
Yes.
correct? Okay. I don't think anybody's against good government. I believe we're all for transparency, not trying to get people to do extra work, just try to be clear and focused on what we're doing. With that being said, I don't, at this point, I'm not for this, I'm not 100% against it, and I'd like to make a motion, if I can do that from the floor, for a one-meeting deferral, that maybe some of this could be ironed out, so that we're not doing anything improper, incorrect, or whatever, and if it's just a matter of, and I know the attorneys can't answer this from off the cuff, I suppose, but if it's just a matter of tweaking some things and discussing it a little further. So if I can make that motion, and Council Clerk?
Yes, sir. I have a motion. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan for a one-meeting deferral. Do I see a second?
Second?
Second by Councilmember Segur on a one-meeting deferral. Any discussion on deferral?
Yes. Although I appreciate your efforts, Councilman, these items have been an issue for a very long time, ever since the last budget hearings we had. And this is something that has been pressing. I know I've worked on it an enormous amount of time I've had into this legislation. And I understand there has been some opposition, and there will be, even if we do a one-meeting deferral. That's my belief. I think everything that is in here it gives a lot of clarity. It's good government. It's transparency. It's most important that we adopt something so we have something for our next budget, which is around the corner. So at this point in time, I do oppose having any type of deferral. I think we need to vote on it, get this out the way. I think things are being said. We're about as clear as we can be. I think we already had an amendment, good amendment, that helps it, and I think it helps with some of the issues were brought out in the memorandum. And I have some closing remarks I think that will give clarity as well and help with making your decision, I would hope. Anyway, that's what I have to say. If anybody else has anything else to chime in. Councilman Segur?
And remember, we are discussing the deferral.
Correct.
Okay. I'm agreeing for a deferral to try to do, like Councilman Brennan said, resolve some issues. Not against this whole thing, but just the way it's being presented. Submission of the budget, that's already in the charter that says May 1st. No alterations after May 1st. I don't think that that's the case. The mayor presented the budget, we went into budget hearings, the amendments didn't come up until the day that we were going to vote that created the problem. That's where there was a problem with the way the budget was being processed. So that should not be in here. The publication of the city's website and all of that, but sure, that's not a problem. It should, the more it's out there, the better it is. And then the budget hearings, we always have had budget hearings. Since 1974, the council has a budget hearing. That's when changes were made or offered and the administrations would go along, and then it was put up to a vote. To wait again to the last minute or through a reconsideration is where the problem comes in. And I'll agree to the deferral to hopefully try to resolve those remaining issues where our legal team has just said we're going to have a violation of our charter. This ordinance cannot approve a change to the charter. So I'll go along with the one meeting deferral and hope that that will give you as the author presumably time to resolve these issues and make it a clean act, because we have had budget hearings, we have made changes, but in a proper format, not in this format. This is not the way to, again, as I said, this charter was put in effect 1974. Here we are in 2021, and this seems to be the first time we've had this kind of problem brought upon by bringing it up for amendments on the day we were going to vote, and then by a special council meeting to reconsider and then put in those amendments. That's where the problem came in. So I'll go along with a deferral, and hopefully you can resolve these problems.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to say on the deferral, I will not be supporting a deferral because, as Councilwoman McKinney said, and to the point of a couple other people, we've had enough time to digest this, to talk about this, to whatever, to put it off for another meeting. It won't change most. If your opinion is where you are right today, that's where you're going to be at after one more week. I don't believe we're doing anything illegal, as stated by the attorneys, to breaking the law. And this opinion of some attorneys saying that we're doing something, against the charter, it's an opinion. I think the information given by the councilwoman and is a decision you have to, we as council people have to make a decision. Either you agree with the city attorney's opinion or you don't agree with it. And that is why I will not be voting for the deferral. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman Brennan?
But the city attorney is agreeing with the outside attorneys.
That is correct.
I'm just talking about the deferral. I'm just saying I'm not going to support the deferral.
Can I hear that again, please?
I will not be supporting the deferral.
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to hear what Councilman Brennan just said.
See, you jumped to a conclusion. I thought he was talking to me.
Let's hear that question again.
So voting against the deferral is going against what the city attorney is recommending or agreeing to with the outside attorneys. And not getting to transparency, not getting into any of that. If the attorneys here are saying we shouldn't be doing this because it's against the charter, throw out illegal, whatever you would want to call it, if that's the case, it just seems to me that there are not that many things in here that are out of line, and it just needs to be tweaked a little more. And that's why I'm asking for the deferral, so that a month from now, 2 months, 3 months, we're not going through budget fights again. It's just a matter of trying to clean this up with some recommendations and some people getting together and discussing it. So that's why I'm asking for a deferral. And again, if our city attorney is in agreement with the outside counsel or vice versa, it just seems to me that that's if the good Lord could come down and tell us to defer it for a meeting, maybe that's what we would need, but I just think that's what we need to do.
Is it my turn? Councilman Brennan, it is your choice to say that for the deferral, and I'm not against you saying that you're asking for a deferral. I'm just saying I will not support it. And if the good Lord came down, I would most definitely believe him as opposed to anybody in this room. So let's get that clear right there. But it was an opinion. All I was saying was it was an opinion. I disagree with the information that was said. That's all I'm saying, sir.
And I would hope if the good Lord came down, you would say, you would
Yes.
take his opinion rather than anyone else's.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just clarify, Mr. Teft, I'm sorry, but we've closed it for public comment. We had a hearing, we opened it and closed it, so public comment is over at this time. I didn't want you to just stand there waiting to comment, but it's been
Madam
closed for
Clerk.
public comment.
Point of order. Yeah, we had a public hearing, but residents have always been able to come when legislation is on the floor if they want to speak again, or
Yes, sir.
first time.
The clerk was just asked to clarify that public comment period was
I
over.
got the public hearing comment section, but now that we're actually on the legislation, every time a piece of legislation comes up, the public has a right to come speak. That's
That
up to the chairman.
Yes,
though.
sir, that would be up
And
to the
that's-
chairman.
I understand what he'll do. I got that.
That would be up to the chairman. The clerk was just asked to clarify that the public comment period was over.
Sure, watch.
You've never, you don't know me, apparently. You don't know me. Mr. Teft, you don't have to, I'm gonna let you speak, okay? But you're gonna have a time limit, okay? Go ahead.
I just need a very short time.
Yeah.
If
We-
you
we
want to
are-
make
we
a
are still on
change,
the, excuse me, for point of order, we still are on the
Or the amendment.
deferral.
Deferral, I'm sorry, on
So-
the deferral. So this is only, if you don't want to speak on the deferral, that's what we're on
no,
right
I'm
now.
not speaking on the deferral. I
Okay.
want to
You
speak
can
on,
speak, well, I'll let you come back when we're at that stage. But you can sit right up front if you want. Okay, Madam Clerk?
Yes,
I think-
sir.
I think we're finished.
We are on deferral at the moment, I believe.
Ms. Sala, if you'd like to.
I just wanted to clarify, if we can do a quick clarification, because there's some comments that are made talking about the deferral, whether certain things can be cured and what the specifics are. And I just wanted if Rory or I'm sorry, Adrian can speak one more time. And one of the things I think that's being overlooked, one of the things that's an issue is not about the intent. I think it's the vehicle or the way that you all are trying to change the charter. That is one of the issues, not about necessarily some of the things that may or may not be able to be cured by tweaking some things in words. I think, but I just wanted the attorneys, from Shahardi to speak one more time on what the particular deficiencies are, on how to amend particular sections of the charter and how this proposed legislation violates it. So therefore, tweaking a word here or there might not cure it. So I just want them to speak on that, because I think that's something that's being overlooked here. We're not questioning the intent, we're not questioning good government or transparency or any of that stuff in terms of our legal opinion. It's about the way that the council's proposing to go about it. So I just wanted to see if you all can chime in on that real quick, if you wanted any more
Attorney
about it.
Sala, I understand what you're saying, and you would like them to speak on this, but what does that have to do with the deferral?
Because I don't know if the deferring it will cure it, if it's just for one meeting. I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure we're clear on what we're saying is wrong with it legally.
As long as they stick to the issue of deferral.
I'm saying that one meeting deferral might not cure it, just piggybacking on what Councilman Brennan said regarding tweaking some things in some words, meeting of the minds. One of the things we're talking about is, again, like I said, is about the way it's, this actual vehicle itself and the form in which you're trying to do it in order to amend a charter, provisions in the charter. So I'm just saying, I don't know if a deferral can cure it. I just want to just say that so that no one overlooks the fact of what our legal opinion is.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? No other comment? Madam Clerk, I think we're for a vote.
Ready for a vote on a one meeting deferral? Councilman Brennan? Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Nay.
Wilmot?
Nay.
Carroll?
Nay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
We're voting on the one meeting deferral.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Brannigan?
No.
Motion fails, 3-4. Council members McKinney, Wilmot, Carroll, and Brannigan are opposed. Back to your original motion, as amended.
Has everybody made comment that wants to? I think, Mr. Taft, did you want to make comment? I'm going to allow you to do so, even though public hearing is
Well,
closed.
my comment is very simple. The home charter has to be approved by the people of Kenner, not by the council, not by the administration, but by the people. So any charter changes has to be put on ballot for the people of Kenner to approve. You all do not have the authority to change the charter, nor does the administration. Read it, read it. It is the law of Kenner. It takes the people. We, the people, is the one that governs that. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taft. Okay, I think that brings us to the conclusion of our debate. I don't see anybody else wishing to speak. Therefore, I'm going to close. Okay. A lot of things have been said at this point regarding the charter and whether or not this is adverse to the charter, and I don't see it. I don't see it. I think this complements the charter. It doesn't oppose the charter. That is the way I interpret it. Everybody is entitled to their opinions, and that's mine. First off, we did have budget hearings some time ago, and the former city attorney at that time did opine on reconsideration and didn't have a problem doing so, and agreed that we could do a reconsideration, and that's what this does. I think she's correct. That's my opinion as well. Also, we did meet with the legislative auditor after that, and the meeting went very well, I thought, and some of the problems that we had, Councilman Segur pointed out, some of the problems that we had, I don't agree with what he said. He wasn't at that meeting. I was at that meeting and a couple of others. I think it was very important to have that meeting, and the meeting went well, and we cured it simply by doing a ratification, and that was done. And I don't want to have to go through that process every year. We got a budgetary issue coming up this year again for the 2022 budget, and we don't need to do that. This fixes a lot of those problems. It cures a lot of those problems. Again, we're not trying to change the charter. That has been suggested. That's hogwash. Also, it's been made comment that because we have 4 people on here who put their names to this piece of legislation, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a walking quorum. I know, again, Councilman Segur throw that up there to make it, hey, don't vote for it because it's a walking quorum. Gee, this is terrible. That's BS. I had somebody reach out to Lauren Sutterth with the AG's office on that issue already, just to ask and to make an inquiry. She says this is not an open meetings of law violation in any way. If you feel like you need a caller, call her. She'll tell you herself. A quorum sponsoring a piece of legislation is not a violation of open meetings law, period. So that addresses that issue, as I told you I would address it.
By your opinion.
That's by her opinion.
We don't know that. She's not here. You're just reading something off a piece of paper.
Well,
It's your opinion, and like you said, you respect our opinions, my
you
opinion.
don't have the floor, sir.
I got that. You combined the 4.
Thank you. So in closing, I'd like to say, simply, I disagree with Councilman Segur and the attorneys who previously spoke. I do agree with Councilwoman McKinney. I think she's right on point. We need a specific process. That's what this does. I'm getting pushback because we're trying to do a specific process that's good government and transparency. Can the council consider and pass this type of legislation? Sure. We're the governing body or branch of government that sets policy. And Section 4.01 specifically states, the mayor shall carry out the policy directives of the council. We adopted an amendment that should resolve the biggest concerns of this administration. I think those two changes helps it out greatly. A great portion of this legislation simply clarifies budgetary processes. I understand that it's been utilized by prior administrations for many, many years, if not decades. This legislation provides basic framework, maintains transparency and openness of our important budgetary processes when dealing with those things that are enumerated in this legislation. I'm not going to go through them again. I've already been through them, but nonetheless, they're very important, and I think it sets up the framework necessary. These are all good government measures, and I ask for all my colleagues' support on this matter. Madam Clerk?
Council members, please vote. Councilmember McKinney?
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Councilman Segura?
Nay, I will not violate the charter.
Councilman Hayes?
No.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
No.
Motion passes 4-3. Councilmembers Segura, Hayes, and Brennan are opposed. Item 9 is ordinances for the sale, purchase, transfer, lease, and/or alienation of a movable property. We have none. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. We have none. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution electing a Kenner City Council President and Vice President effective January 1st, 2022. Have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Any discussion? Council members, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution temporarily suspending Council Rule Number 11 of the Rules of Organization, Business, Order, and Procedure of the Council of the City of Kenner and rescheduling the Kenner City Council agenda deadline to Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 at noon for the council meeting of January 6th, 2022, and Tuesday, January 18th, 2022 at noon for the council meeting of January 21st, 2022. I have a motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Council members, please vote. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Councilman Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 13C is a resolution authorizing the City of Kenner to join with the State of Louisiana and other local governmental units as a participant in the Louisiana State Local Government Opioid Litigation Memorandum of Understanding and any subsequent formal agreements necessary to implement the Memorandum of Understanding, including but not limited to the subdivision settlement participation forms and Exhibit K of the Distributor Settlement Agreement and the Janssen Settlement Agreement. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Brennan. Any discussion? Councilman Segura?
Thank you, Council Clerk. We had a discussion a little while ago with the attorneys on this, and what this is there's various suits in the country filed by, I think they told us 42 states against pharmaceutical companies and distributors for the opioid addiction that has been spread across our country as a result of these opiate drugs that were pushed out through the pharmaceutical companies. This is allowing The Attorney General for Louisiana has already put in his suit representing the state. Now, this representation that we're hopefully going to approve will allow attorneys to represent our city in getting some monies to be used for purposes of abating the opioid addiction through the settlements that the pharmaceutical companies have already put up for disbursement through the parishes and cities. So hopefully everyone will be in favor of this so we can continue and hopefully get some funds to go toward programs to help put a stop to the opioid addiction in our city. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Councilman Segura?
Yay.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 13D is a resolution amending and correcting Resolution B 17179 relative to the additional days to the agreement time with Hubs Properties LLC for the Department of Community Development. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember Carroll. Just to clarify, this is just a clerical error. The days listed on the original legislation was a typographical error from 86 to 82, just to make sure everybody understood. Council members, please vote. Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,917, an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from AccuAir Enterprises Incorporated to furnish and install a 5-ton air conditioning and heating system in the VIP room upstairs office of the new theater located at 325 Minor Street in accordance with letter bid number 21-1988 in the amount of $9,000 for the Department of General Services. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Hayes. Any-
Clerk, I think we have a,
Ms. Sowell?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. At this time, on behalf of the league, we would ask that this be deferred for one meeting.
motion.
What?
I'll
Please
motion.
clarify, City Attorney?
She wants to defer one meeting.
She's
One meeting
asking.
deferral?
I'll motion for the deferral.
Sure. You're welcome. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember
Yes.
Brennan for a one-meeting deferral. Council members, please vote on deferral. Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segura?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 for a one-meeting deferral. Item 15B, summary ordinance number 12,918. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from AccuAir Enterprises Incorporated to furnish and install a 5-ton air conditioning and heating system at Butch Dewey Concession Stand in accordance with letter bid number 21-1987 in the amount of $7,500 for the Department of General Services. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember Carroll. Any discussion?
None.
Seeing none, council members, please vote. Councilmember Brennan,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Wilmot,
Yay.
Carroll,
Yay.
Segura,
Yay.
Hayes,
Yes.
Brannigan.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,919. An ordinance authorizing the administration to utilize the existing City of New Orleans contract number K15-1079 with Casco Industries Incorporated to purchase MSA products, equipment, parts, and service in the amount of $514,714 for the Kenner Fire Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Segur. Any discussion? Councilman McKinney?
Yes. CFO Herring, I have a question. Is this part of the budgeted amount for capital? Or is this a capital expense or an operating expense?
This is a capital expense, so believe the air masket, and I think Chief Bergeron might be here. I think it's every 10 years, so we've been making allocations throughout the last few years to make sure we have the funding. So this is already set aside capital.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment? None? Madam Clerk?
Councilman McKinney?
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15D is summary ordinance number 12,920. An ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement for the Rivertown improvements with the Louisiana Department of the Treasury and the State of Louisiana in an amount not to exceed $150,000 for the Department of Public Works. Have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Brannigan. Any discussion?
None?
Councilmembers, please vote. Councilman Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15E is summary ordinance number 12,921. An ordinance approving a cooperative endeavor agreement for the Lincoln Manor subdivision drainage improvements with the Louisiana Department of the Treasury and the State of Louisiana in an amount not to exceed $417,500 for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Any discussion?
I'd just like to say this is the legislation. I understand that it's through the state, and I think State Representative Joe Stagney had a hand in this. Is that correct? Yes.
Absolutely. We've
Yeah.
talked about that a few times.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's it.
Perfect. Yeah, this is good stuff. So well, hopefully we'll get some drainage addressed in that region. So, very good.
What's going to happen?
Yeah,
It'll happen.
very good. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, and I also would like to thank the mayor and State Representative Stagney, for this support for the Lincoln Manor subdivision. It is something in dire need. It goes, we've started this process in one way or another, even back, as I've said before, when Councilman Wilmot was in the state legislature. So this is how long it has been, I guess, dragging along, and now we finally have something that we actually are going to do. So everybody involved, we appreciate their support for this, for the citizens of Kenner, because just because it's the Lincoln Manor subdivision, we all have to pass through that sometime or another. So thank everybody for their support, and particularly for the citizens of the Lincoln Manor subdivision. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else? Madam Clerk?
Councilmembers, please vote. Councilman Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15F is summary ordinance number 12,922. An ordinance approving a professional services agreement with LeBlanc Fantasi, Billio LLC for legal services in an amount not to exceed $200,000 annually. I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember Hayes. Any discussion?
None?
Seeing none, councilmembers, please vote. Councilman Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15G is summary ordinance number 12,923. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Cass Brothers Incorporated for the Kenner FEMA Street Renovation FEMA DR 1603 PW 20831 project in accordance with seal bid number 21-6626 in the amount of $1,199,160 for the Department of Public Works. I have a motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Carroll. Any
Oh.
discussion?
If we can have Mr. Schreiner, if you could just explain the project for us, sir. It's a big one.
Yes, Councilman, these repairs are the result of Hurricane Katrina. So, golly, there's a lot of repairs out, and they're scattered all out throughout the city. A lot of times, it'll be a little piece of sidewalk here, a curb here, a driveway here. But anyway, we do have the money. This bid fits within the budget. Now we have to go bid it. We have to get it, we have to get it going. We have to complete this and just get finished. It's been dragging on for a long time, so. But we do have a low bidder. We had 4 bids, and this is recommended.
Thank you. Any, Councilman Carroll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Director, for that information. And it has been a long time. As far as this is for the entire city, correct? This money is allocated for the entire city of Kenner.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And as far as having some type of comprehensive plan, do we have that as far as specific locations or areas?
Well, this bid includes specific locations within the city, yes. But as far as a comprehensive plan, that's something else that we have. Yeah, we've had the roads within the whole city addressed, and they've all been rated, and, yeah, we're addressing repairs to the roads based on the priority that the engineer has established.
So the money will be used based on when we have, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but we are in the process of putting together a street by district, by priorities to repair. That's what we're.
That's correct. But
That's what we're
these
doing.
are addressing specific repairs as a result of the needed from the hurricane.
Okay. I like to, get a chance to get a copy to take a look at that. Not today, but one day next week to get that from you. I'd appreciate it.
You'd like a copy of the plans for this project?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Councilman Segur?
Excuse me, Mr. Schreiner, you said, and I believe I picked up, this is just for repairs due to the Hurricane Ida?
No, this is Katrina.
Katrina, okay.
yeah.
That's what I thought I heard, but I was making sure that that's one of these long-standing negotiations to get money from that far back storm.
That's correct.
Okay.
So it's basically going to be.
Mr. Striner, can we all get a copy of that, please?
Oh, sure.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Be glad to give you all a copy, not a problem.
Thank you.
No other comment? Madam Clerk? Thank you, Mr. Schreiner.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKenney?
Yes.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15H is a resolution approving Amendment Number 1 to the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement with Visit Kenner Incorporated dated August 9, 2018, which extends the agreement term to December 31st, 2024. I have a motion by Councilmember Segur, seconded by Councilmember Hayes. Any discussion?
Well, I guess Ms. Carolyn's not here. I wanted to thank her for her fine work in representing Kenner to bring in tourists to our city with the things that she does. And this is the extension of her good work by extending this agreement forward. So send word to her that I thank her.
You finished?
Yes.
Anybody else?
No.
Seeing
thank you.
none? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Brannigan?
Yes.
Brennan?
Yes.
McKenney?
Yay.
Wilmot?
Yay.
Carroll?
Yay.
Segur?
Yay.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance amending the 2020-2021 operating budget to comply with Louisiana Revised Statute 39:1310-1311. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of plots A-3A and A2-3B into new lot A2-3B1 Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana. Item 16C is an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of parcel A, Seaton Park Subdivision, Kenner Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, and 2 lots 101 through 142, and the dedication of South St. Anne Drive, West St. Anne Drive, and North St. Blaise Drive along the right-of-ways to the City of Kenner, which property is owned by DFM Investments LLC. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Han Enterprises Incorporated to furnish and install new fitness equipment at Miguez Park in accordance with seal bid number 21-6623, and an amount not to exceed $49,509 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance approving amendment number 3 to the agreement with Beacon Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Incorporated for the troubleshooting of various makes and models of air conditioning and heating systems, low and high pressure chiller systems, and commercial refrigeration equipment to increase the agreement amount to $150,000 annually for the Department of General Services. Item 16F is an ordinance approving a professional services agreement with Hartman Engineering Incorporated regarding Roosevelt Boulevard improvements, West Metairie through to West Napoleon, Public Works Project number PW-2021-2-RB, and an amount not to exceed $381,255.13 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16G is an ordinance establishing the classification plan and salary plan for all positions in the City of Kenner Civil Service. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Anyone? Seeing none? Madam Clerk?
Item 18 is new business. This item was taken at an earlier juncture in the meeting. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Teff?
Sorry, I thought there was someone ahead of me. I just want to thank.
If you will, just repeat your name and
yes,
address.
Greg
for me.
Taft, 3720 West Loyola Drive.
Thank you.
I just want us to thank Councilman Segura, Councilman Hayes, Councilman Brennan for voting and honoring the wishes of the people of Kenner. 'Cause the homeroom charter does require approval by the people, not by the council. And those that wish to vote against it, I hope the people will know. The other thing I just want to bring up, and this is a question I need to ask the administration. Are we getting on cycle as far as keeping the grass or the weeds cut in parks and in the area and in by the boat launch? And also, I need to bring the attention, because I don't know who can enforce this, whether it's code or if it's the Kenner Police Department. But in the parks and even on the highways, there is a lot of litter that we're getting blamed for as a city for making us look trashy, because people are throwing stuff out the window when they're driving or when they're in the park, rather than walk from here to that wall to dump it into a dumpster, they just throw it on the ground. They're also, basically by dumping it on the ground, that's going to bring rodents and everything else. So that's why I'm asking, because it's really a several-part deal, because I noticed that the grass was high at the boat launch the other day. I haven't been out there last couple of days, but it was high when I went out there. But I also noticed there's a lot of trash that was laying around, not only there, but all around the city of Kenner, not just in the park, all around the city. And from KPD, I don't know what y'all can do, if anything, but people are just literally throwing stuff right out the window as they're driving. Which it didn't break my windshield, thankfully, because it was a Popeye's box that someone threw out the window, and I happened to be behind them. So, but it is a concern, because it just makes our city look bad.
Yes, sir, Mr. Teff, just in reference to the high grass, yeah. Look at Lake Town, they're keeping up, our maintenance crews are out there also, some of the ones doing the tree debris removals on the rights of way as well. We do at least twice, sometimes we try to do 3 times a week, put the gentlemen on foot on our major thoroughfares. I believe on Monday, they were on Loyola, working their way northbound. Yes, you're absolutely right, and I made that in my comments at the last meeting. Unfortunately, we have people that like to throw stuff out the window instead of holding on and throwing it onto the garbage cans. Talking about Lake Town specifically on the far north side of the peninsula where you may see a little bit of high grass still, we're still working with, when the high water came up, a lot of the boulders actually came up, the riprap that kind of protects the waves coming up, washed ashore. So we're actually having to pick those up one by one and put them back in their place. So it's making it a little difficult to get some of the lawn equipment there. But hopefully, if we get a little cooler weather during this time of the year, that'll kind of hinder the grass growth and give us a little bit of time to address those.
No, that would be good, because like I said, all this is to attract businesses, attract
Yes, sir.
residents to our city, and when we look like crap, I mean, I hate to put it this way, sometimes, I mean, some areas looks as bad as New Orleans, and I don't think that's not the image we want to present.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Taft. Anybody else like to make public comment? Anybody on the council? No? I have a motion. Second. We're adjourned.